Okay, James, I got your next two radios here. So you got your fans. I'll install those for you. And this is the first one. The puppy dog comes to say hi. They like to be in here with me sometimes when I'm working. It's peaceful in here. I like having them. If you're not a pet lover, I can respect that, but I love my dogs, man. Dogs are great. But anyways, so it's you got 846 and 843. That's what we're ending in. So you got your two mics here, and I think the mailman just came to pick up a meter I'm shipping off today for a customer. That's what he's barking at. I got two of those German Shepherd breeds. Awesome dogs. One thing I'll say about these mics, they work really good with these radios. They're plug and play. What you'll find on these that you don't get, like say on the Digimic, which I know a lot of people like, the frequency response on this goes up to 6 kilohertz, and some might say, well, why does it have to go that high? Well, there's a lot of intelligibility that you gain versus the Digimic that stops at about 3K, so it rolls off at about 3K. This keeps going, so you know, all I can say to that is there's a lot of intelligibility that you'll miss out on by not going up higher in frequency, and everybody's voice is different, so you know, you hear a lot more quality sound out of this mic. And again, everybody, you know, people can make videos and stuff, and then they can, you know, everybody perceives things through a speaker in a television or a phone or whatever that they watch the videos on, so it's hard to really hear it for yourself. But if you truly hear one of these radios with this mic, or really any other radio with this mic, it really adds some presence to the radio that a lot of mics just don't have when they roll off at such a low level. I think 3K is too low to roll off, but that's just my personal opinion. And these don't do that. These obviously cover a good range from the low end. Now, should it go to 100? Yeah, I mean, it probably wouldn't hurt, but I think there's been a few customers that said that they modified a few capacitors on the board or something that did give it a little more presence at the low range end. But I mean, everybody has a preference on how they like the radio to sound. I myself don't mind a bassier sound, but I like to have some presence in the high frequency range of my voice too. So, you know, you don't want to sound all muddy and stuff, you know, either. So that's all I'll say on that, is this has a better frequency range for voice intelligibility. But to each his own on what mic they want to use. There is a promo going on right now as a President dealer. If you buy a George FCC new, you can send in the mail-in rebate form for a free Digimic. So, although I just said what I said about the Digimic, if they're giving it away for free, you just buy the radio, then you might as well take advantage of it. But these mics are exclusive to me in the USA, so if you have one of these, you either bought it from me, or you might have bought it overseas and not known about me or something, because I don't claim to everybody knows who I am in the hobby. I'm not some messiah in the CB radio hobby or anything like that. So if you've heard about the mic, then probably chances are you've heard about it from somebody else that bought one and liked it, or maybe they didn't like it. I'm not really sure, but I think most guys like them. I've never really heard any negative feedback on them. So with that in mind, we're gonna set them both up with the fans. I'll take one out and use it when I do the test. I'll just show you the power check on both, because I've covered these radios a lot in other videos. And then the other one, they'll both have batteries. The other one I won't show, so my wife's already starting to bubble wrap stuff, and we're getting stuff ready to head off to you. So I will be back when I can with some more updates. I'm going to make this probably one long video, so it's going to be multiple parts like put together. Okay, James, so I got the fans on. They're running right now. I'm going to leave them run. If you want to shut them off, you can go into the protection setting. It'll have a fan speed. I'm sorry, a temperature setting. It'll have a temperature, and they'll shut off for you at a certain point, and then they'll kick back on. My take on fans are, if you're going to buy the fans for it, you might as well use them. And if you're not going to use them, then just let the thermostat work. So it's kind of a combination of both. If you're going to be talking a lot, just leave them on. This is the one that ends in 846, so I'm just going to keep this one kind of basic. We got the NM532 mic on here. One thing I do recommend for that is to not run it in the EL, which is for this stock mic. which is the example of what you got new in the box. This is a stock mic. You need that in EL to use that mic. For this mic, you don't need that, so you don't want that because it sends voltage through the line, and you don't need the voltage. If you could modify the radio to actually supply voltage from the radio a different way through the mic cord, but this mic cord is differently, like the main audio transmit and ground are the same, but this has other wires that correspond. One goes to the condenser for voltage, the other goes for the up and down channel. So you'd have to switch either the wiring of this radio, this mic to this radio to get voltage through. It's like a battery eliminator, basically. I haven't done it. I could probably do it, but it would void the warranty on the radio because you'd have to enable voltage line out. And I don't like selling radios without warranties, so it's something I would do on my own probably. But you know, I don't like. I don't want to set somebody up for failure, basically. Because, you know, if I do it, there's no guarantee that later it couldn't damage the radio too, and I would just be willing to take that risk myself, but I wouldn't want somebody else to feel the same way. So anyways, they work fine with a 9-volt battery, and this light means that your clarifier is on. You'll see that, you know, it's in the R position right now. I think it does R and T also, depending on what color that is. R means just receive only, so... this is sideband right here, so power is 80 watts, or maybe a little less at times. This is a very clean output. It's funny on these, just like all the other 10-meter radios that are sideband capable, they come out so dirty out of the factory. I just don't understand the logic in that. And you can actually see, if you have nothing more than like the spectrum analyzer here, I can leave it in the AM modulation mode, and when I align it, I can actually see the funny thing is, I can actually see the AM modulation come up as the signal cleans up, which is crazy. So, but that's how it works. Luckily on this radio, the display pretty much shows full SRF still. So, you know, at times you may not fully hit the full 80, but it's okay. You know, it's better to have a clean signal. And on this radio, I got the mic about like around here. So again, this radio is a good candidate for this mic also, like I said before. And it's plug and play. AM, we have you set to about 16 watts all the way up, and then the radio will do somewhere close to 70 plus. Sometimes it might do closer to 80. Now again, I know the box says I think 80 watts, but we can't always take into consideration what a box says, you know, versus what we're seeing here. So I do lower the carrier down because I feel like it's better for the modulation. I think out of the box this comes with like a 20 watt carrier or something. I just think it's too high. So, you know, that's just me being me, but I like to run things better. And I think, you know, what I do here works pretty good. Let me do this real quick because I had it in the 28 megahertz because that's where the service mode defaults. So this is your AM right here. It's not like real puny, it's actually pretty aggressive for a radio like this. But again, as you lower the carrier, you'll get less PEP out of the radio. That's the difference between these radios and some of the older ones. Like the Lincoln 2 Plus, for instance, that radio has good AM audio, even at a low dead key. It still has quite a bit of the swing and stuff that guys like. So it's older design, a little bit different. So that's pretty much it for this one. We'll just quickly put it on the generator for a receive check. I know it's hard to see the display because of the sticker. I'll let you take that off. The whole sticker comes off, like it's even covered over here, so it'll start to peel in one motion. You know, they started putting those on later. In the beginning, they weren't on there. So there's S9 with -67, and we'll switch over to upper sideband. I did adjust FM to 50 watts maximum, and deviation on this is 4.1, so it's going to be a little bit louder than the 497. There's S9 on upper, and then there's S9 on lower. So it's looking good there. Let's just test the overall sensitivity. We'll bring it down. There's negative -130. Still have a signal in there, so that's good. And go back to AM. And my buddy just texted me, he's a truck driver. He said he broke down his airbag. I guess it messed up and maybe the truck won't run, or that maybe it, hopefully it didn't deploy for no reason. That would be scary. I'll have to get with him in a little bit. It's always something though, you know. The modern things are not what they're sometimes cracked up to be. Vehicles can be a major pain. Here's minus 120 AM with 30% modulation. There's minus 128. I'll turn up the modulation to 100%. There's minus 130 with 100% modulation. So obviously it's got some good ears and stuff. But again, this is the first one. I'll do the second one next. And I don't know if I'm going to do all these in one big video, or I may just do them all kind of broken up. I think I might just do that. Kind of cover them each individually. All right, thanks again. We're still moving on to the next. Okay, James, here is the second Washington. So the fans are on. They're not going to run in the service mode right now, but they are on and everything's for you. So what I wanted to show is I touched on that last one. This is the sideband. With nothing more than just not even looking at an oscilloscope, we can fix this up. So President has this different way that they do it. There's like a self-generated tone in the radio. So you can see here, if we look, you can kind of see like a modulated signal that looks kind of flattened. See your AM depth. So you wouldn't think that this would really apply too much to what we're doing sideband, but it kind of does. So this is RMS power. Just it's too much. So what I'm going to do is just lower it down to like 30. But what I was finding interesting the last time was, watch. Look, every time I make a change, see how it gets more, the waveform's increasing in a sense because we're getting more modulation. So it's really interesting that, you know, and then you reach a certain point and it won't do any more. So then that's a good idea to not go any farther. So that would be right there. So what I've done is basically taken the average down from like 50 to 20, but in reality the radio is going to work a heck of a lot better. So it's interesting, and the tone that they generate, it's a strange tone. It's like a 2.5K tone. I don't know why they have it like that. I'm not really sure. They're the only ones that have that. The George also does that, as well as the George 2, and it's interesting. So now we'll come back. So everything is done to the radio. On the first one, the one that doesn't end in 4.3, I think that one ended in 4.6. I had the span function on, so I'll show you what that does. You may want to shut that off if you don't like it. It's in here somewhere. It says span. This radio has a encoder, but I think it's a real high quality encoder. I think it's a lot better than your Anytone and Radio Oddity encoders. It just feels of a higher quality to me. It almost feels mechanical. So what this span function does, you see how we're making the numbers blink? So in your normal banded format, you would skip this A, see how the A lights up. So I like the span on because it gives you the ability to at least like see if anybody's there. You have the A channels. Now this is where it gets a little confusing with the span. I have to go 22, 24, but that's the way the frequencies are set up in the CB band. So, you know, then we go 25 and 23. So if you don't have that on, it's going to do it 23, 22, 23, 24, 25. You know, with the span on, it's not going to do it the way you normally would on like a Cobra. So I'm just showing you that. If you want to shut it off on both, you can shut it off. I'm leaving it on. You can go anywhere you want on the radio. See, it does it here too. They call this an A channel. I don't know why they would follow. It's only because there's an A channel on channel 3 on the regular CB band. So if we go down there, that's why. So basically it's just following what the 40 channel FCC band would do. So there really is no A channel up there, but the radio doesn't know that. So it's just following. There is no true VFO option in this radio, but this is kind of like the same thing. So but for the all intents and purposes, it's a good radio. I've yet to run one of these in my car, so I really don't know how well it works out in like a vehicle. But a lot of guys really like these. I like it for what it is. It's definitely a new approach to a radio. It looks a lot like a Bearcat 980. I mean, I've covered these a lot in other videos and stuff. So this is my last one I'm going to do for you today. I got your Striker 955 HPC Plus. I'll do that one tomorrow. And I think I have one more I'll try to get done tomorrow for a customer too, a Michigan customer. So try to get those both knocked out. At least yours for sure, because I'm back to work tomorrow. So, and I had prior engagements today. You know, this is also a day off that I do appointments and things for my personal life, because as I've said before to a lot of guys on YouTube and in person and text message, emails, sometimes phone calls and stuff, this is not my main source of income, is this radio business. So just keep in mind, I do what I can for everybody when time allows, and I don't really focus on repairs or trying to work on older radios for guys and stuff. It's just they're too time consuming, and I don't have time to. I'd rather just do that stuff for myself and take as much time as I would need, because I don't like making people wait very long, and it's just not really my forte to want to fix everybody's radio and try to dissect and take parts out of radios and see what part is bad, because I mean it can get very costly. So, but anyways, a lot of times with certain radios, they go bad, there's just like one or two parts that are bad, and you have to remove them in most cases to test. So, you know, and most guys want to be paid for that time, so it can get very costly. But anyways, here's the radio on AM. So it's going to do about the same as the last one. I'm using the 6-pin KPO mic, as you can see there. I want to make sure it's not going to like destroy the radio if you forget to switch the mic type. Just try to get in a habit when you use this mic, and I just did it myself, so nobody's perfect, you know. To make sure that you have the mic in the right setting, which is not EL, it's DY. So that's the one that you want for a aftermarket mic. They do have these. I do sell these too. I'll just throw this in this box for you. You can have this one. This is a 6-pin plug, so you can use any 4-pin mic. You could essentially use your 4-pin KPO on this if you want to with this adapter. I'll just give you this one just because it's here. I have a bunch of these, so you know, it's a little freebie for you. But you would want to make sure any mic you use with this radio, with this adapter, or these mics, it's got to stay in DY. The only mic you want in EL is this mic. So that's my advice for you. Sideband on this, again, it's pretty much full output. But I did clean up the signal a ton on this radio, so again, they really benefit from that. And we're looking somewhere between 3 and 4 kilohertz of bandwidth, so it's really good, and it's going to sound much better, I think, for you. It's a very clean signal, and this is like ham radio quality signal here now, so you know, it's not a hard thing to do, but you know, you just have to kind of get in there and do it. I don't know if the big players in the selling world even do anything. I just watched a video yesterday, a gentleman in Wisconsin that I've never heard of, but seems like a really good guy, and he's got a little store, I guess, and he works on electronics and also does some radio work. And really interesting video I watched. It was on Facebook. So really seems like a really nice guy. Anyways, I can't remember the name of his business, but And he said a lot that I agreed with about, you know, like some guys will scoff at the price of a certain, like certain radios that really need to be aligned from like Ranger and stuff like that. When you really go through it and spend the time, and I mean, guys can watch a video that I did on a 69 Base Plus Plus for my friend down in Ohio. I mean, I spent a long time on that radio, over an hour, you know, and it unfortunately, you know, guys don't understand that, because they don't understand what it takes to do something right. And you know, sometimes the radios cost what they cost, but then certain radios, they have to have like a real quality alignment where you're in there with, you know, using like test equipment, and like I'm using the RF antenna hooked up here and testing crystals and frequency offsets. And I like to do that, but to be honest, it's not really beneficial for me to invest that much time, because most people in the radio hobby that buy radios and like to use radios, they don't want to pay for it. So it's like, you know, if I were to say, well, to do this radio, because of how much time it takes, it's gonna be extra $100. I mean, I know there's some big players in the world that are charging like $60, and what are you getting for that sometimes? Like, I think, and that was the guy's video, was the purpose of his video was that one company. And I've seen handfuls of their radios too, and they've always just been poorly. They convert it and send it off as a 10-meter radio with CB, but they do nothing for the customer, and it's a shame that they just get away with it. But I'm not going to mention who it was or anything, but you could try to find his video on YouTube or on Facebook, I mean, and see for yourself. But the point I'm trying to make is, you know, they live off of, they're big and they advertise like crazy and all that, and people just see it and they trust, oh, they're everywhere, they got to be good. And that ain't always the case. I'm not saying that I'm the best or anything either, but you know, I do take pride in what I do. And with radios like those, there's a lot that you have to do to them to make them work right. And then at the end, it also falls back to the fundamental build of the radio. So even after you set everything up the best way possible with equipment and all that, the radio is designed a certain way, and that's always going to be that radio. So you can't expect magic sometimes either, but you can align it the right way, and you got to have good equipment to do that. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. And there's reasons why I don't sell certain brands and stuff, because I've gotten bad radios new out of the box from them, and it's real stressful for me when I spend good hard-earned money that I earn myself through my business or whatever. And when I get a radio that doesn't work, or there's an issue with it out of the box, it really ticks me off too, as a seller and as a person that can service the radio, and I don't like that. So, you know, do I like the radios? Yeah, I like all those kind of radios, but it's just, for me, it's been a situation where I've had more bad luck with certain brands, and that's why I haven't fully gone through with those kind and wanted to really sell a lot of them. So, but anyways, here's your Washington all set for you. So get this one boxed up and we'll wrap up your order tomorrow. So thanks again, and you should have this probably shipping out to you tomorrow. 73. Okay, James, I got your striker here, so I'm just about done with it. This is the sideband, so I've cleaned up the sideband like I always do on these, and that looks really nice. I can just kind of enlarge it to see it a little bit better, but big difference from this, from that, with all that RMS power that's unnecessary. That'll blow up amplifiers, and it's really bad for the radio too. Just makes things so much hotter than they need to get. So the guys that are running like transistor style amplifiers, I have a feeling running radios like this into them, if you've blown transistors, it's probably why. They're just way overblown. And I think a lot of guys, you know, they get the transistor, whatever, they get the biased amps, transistor amps, and they blow transistors on sidebands because the radio is way unchecked. So we need to have some limiting capability on sideband, which this radio doesn't have out of the factory. So you're asking for trouble if you don't have something there. And of course, don't overdrive things to begin with. Even with a properly set up radio, if you overdrive it, then it's not going to be happy. So I did put that adapter that I mentioned in the last video for your president. I put that in the box with this radio because I forgot to put it in the Washington box, the one that I gave you. So it's in here in the mic compartment. And this is yours right here. So it ends in 631. Okay, so we're just going to show you the sideband power on this. Sideband power on this is still right around, you know, the 100-watt mark, maybe a little less. You know, it just depends. Sometimes you'll see 100, sometimes you won't. So again, it's lower sideband. That's why the frequency shifts over to the left. And yeah, it's pretty good. It's like 4 kilohertz, 3 to 4 kilohertz. I think I have there's a setting in there for about 3K. That's where I got it set. So whether it actually rolls off at 3K or not, I could test that, but it really doesn't matter. There's a 4K setting too, and basically it just gives you a little more treble in your audio if you set it to the 4K. AM on this, I think I set you to 16 all the way up. So on this one, this is your talkback, and this is your RF. On the 497, it's opposite. That's where I got that wrong, because I'm used to doing this one. It's showing about 17 right now. But again, when these heat up, the carriers kind of come up and the PEP drops off just a little bit. And this is kind of warm because I've been kind of letting it have it for a little bit while I was setting it up. But as you can see there, it's pretty good. It's nice and clean. That gate function in the menu, just make sure you leave that on. It's kind of important for the radio. And it's like 16 watts swinging up to 90 plus. It'll do over 100 when it cools down a little bit. It's not super hot, but you know, I mean, we got to be realistic about things with our radios and can't expect to, you know, want things to do absolutely the balls to the wall maximum. Again, that's how things don't last. So there's really no difference right now between this 90 and if it was slightly over 100, but again, it's really good. So if we turn that carrier down some to like 12 o'clock and kind of fall back to about 5-6 watts, and then even there, that'd be a good way to run the radio because you get a lot more swing that way, and I have a feeling the audio will just be a little stronger. So that would be my preferred, actually it's a little over, that would be my preferred spot to run the radio, I think, especially barefoot. Just run it like 12 o'clock on AM. What is it going to do on sideband? 12 o'clock is probably going to be limited some. On sideband at 12 o'clock, I mean, you're not really missing out on much. It's more like about half the power, maybe a little more than half, but at the end of the day, if you can't make it with this, you're probably not going to make it with 100. That's how I look at it. So you asked about the UK FM band, so I'll show you that. It is here. Now to get that, you have to go into the menu and you have to go over to, this one and switch it to R and T together. And when you want to get out, you can just tap the color button. So what that does is it tells the radio, okay, we have our clarifier now here. So we're going to shift our frequency this many hertz to the right. Positive is to the right. We can't see the 5.0 here, but it's essentially 5.0 because that's where those frequencies end. So, and then you can see there. So if I turn it back to center, so now it's 0. So that's what it does, and that's how you access that if you wanted to use those. And it's basically 40, it's a 40 channel bank here of those frequencies, so it's a different band that they have overseas. I would just recommend listening. If your CB antenna or whatever isn't set up for these frequencies, it's probably not going to be a good idea to transmit there because this is much higher in frequency than what we're used to here in the USA. So listening, it's fine, you know, listen all you want, see if you can hear anybody, but I would not really recommend transmitting if it's set up for the mid-band. So that's just my personal opinion there, but we're going to switch that back to R for receive only, and we'll go back to the mid-band, and all that. So it's basically pretty straightforward. You got echo and all that stuff. You can turn all that stuff on from the front. Talkback is here. So I'm not going to make this one a whole lot longer than I need to, because I want to get things wrapped up with your order and try to get it scheduled for them to come and get it today. And I got one more of these to do. So I did a lot of videos on these already. So let me just show you a receiver check. Okay, here's the receiver check on this one. So this is AM with 100% modulation. And it's a 1 kilohertz test tone, so it's minus 121, which is pretty good for these. We'll go to lower sideband and check that out really quick. Alright, so probably I can bottom this one out. That's minus 130. So, I mean, we should all know that sideband is going to give you more range anyways than AM. So, and FM actually gives you more range than AM also. So AM is kind of bottom of the barrel. Although I know we all love AM here, so, you know, I got nothing against AM. I enjoy it a lot. So, but in the grand scheme of things, I think that's why HF doesn't use AM very much, or FM, because sideband is the superior method of long distance communication, and then when you add a digital property to it, it goes even farther with less. So, but the radio's working just fine, so we'll get this one boxed up, and this will complete your order, and we'll hopefully get that scheduled to get on the way to you today. So thanks again, and 73.